Yo, 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 what is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Chris and Alex show. We
Yo,
got
yo,
the
yo.
most important person in the house right now. We got Will Johnson as our guest. Will I.O., what is up? It's good to have you here, man.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and congratulations on you getting a new role, Chris.
Oh, I appreciate it. No one knows the company yet. No one knows the company yet. But,
We can't share that information
We
yet.
can't- no, they know I got a new role though. But y'all, thank you. You too. Congratulations on your new role. You just started like a couple weeks ago. Maybe it's been a month already.
Yeah,
At Auth0 as a developer advocate.
yeah.
How much do you hate that
Yeah.
job now?
It's actually at zero, man. It's kind of like the dream of everything that I like doing. I like coding and teaching people stuff, and
Mhm.
also like interacting with the community. So it's like the perfect mix of community, teaching, learning. It's like the perfect soup.
Perfect soup.
Yeah,
Perfect
tech
soup.
soup.
I'm Asian, so I would call that perfect pho because I love pho. I eat it every single day. Yo, I'm happy to hear that. Like, it's funny because we talk on Twitter a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we share a lot of information with each other just about our lives, family, everything, careers. And hearing you, wanting to be a developer advocate and see you actually get that job, and not just anywhere at Auth0, which is a big company now. Their valuation is huge right now.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so happy for you. Right.
Thanks.
And now
I appreciate it.
no, for sure. And the only developer advocate, only person in this room right now that's not a developer advocate is a person that works at Amazon. So Tech Rally.
Dude, I mean, I'm just creating my own path, man. I'm my own developer advocate.
For the Tech Rally show.
Yeah, for the Tech Rally show. But no, Will, it's really good to have you. And how does it feel to be our first guest on our show?
Oh, it feels good. I didn't even know that was my honor. So
Yeah. Chris
feels good.
Chris just gets too excited whenever he hears developer advocate. So he's just like, no, we're gonna talk about that only.
I do get very excited when it comes to that. That's very true. I'm not gonna lie about that. But yo, it's good to have you in here. Since having you here on this show, I am curious, right? Like, so you just got hired off of Zero, and some people might not even know what Auth0 is. So, like, can you tell me more about it, or tell us? Like, I have no idea what y'all do.
Cool. Okay. Well, since you didn't know about it and now you do because of me, I'm gonna clip that and send it to my manager.
You're doing your job already.
Send your manager this episode. This is a free promo right here.
So just to make sure I say everything correctly, because like I said, I'm still learning, but we're basically
No pressure.
web identity as a service. So when you log into a website and it needs to be, secure, or if you need to like sign in with Google and then sign into like 8 other places with Google without using new credentials, we kind of handle all of that for you. So we take all of the protocols like OAuth and OpenID Connect. And I know I'm throwing a lot of jargon, but it's like a lot that goes behind keeping your identity secure online.
Yeah.
So instead of a developer having to code those things, we take care of that for you and make sure everything is up to standard, safe and secure for your users, so you can worry about making the cool stuff on your app and not worrying about security.
That's
So
so
that's
nice.
why browsing the internet is so easy, is because of y'all.
Exactly.
What's crazy though is, I mean, especially in JavaScript, before Auth0 or anything like that, it was all about using Passport, and we all know that Passport is such a pain in the butt to use and trying to integrate with. So, but weirdly enough, how many apps actually use Auth0? Do you know that information at all?
To be honest, I don't know, but a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
That's a great answer.
Good answer. You're definitely a developer advocate.
I mean, I've definitely used Auth0 and it's super seamless, and it just feels like you just plug and play, which is pretty awesome. But I haven't really kind of tried to integrate it with my backend too much, and it's probably because I've just been doing a lot of little small side apps here and there. But how easy is it to use that identity to kind of like and leverage it with your backend and whatnot? Like, is it just a matter of just using like a user ID and just moving that around everywhere and then saying that that's who you are, and then you have these authorizations to do certain things like that?
Like I said again, I'm still learning, but from what I've seen, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just being honest.
Hey, I feel the same way too. By the way, don't worry.
Yeah, because when I was learning how to like code and get into tech, security and identity like never came up ever. So it's like a whole new world that I'm in. But from what I've seen from like the demos and things like that, it is pretty seamless. But it seemed like but most of the use cases that I've seen or had experience with are usually like on the front end using like React or Vue or like a single page application, because that's what I'm more familiar with.
Got it. Yeah, actually, that's mostly how I've been using it. Was just like a single page application and Auth0 as just the way to authenticate more or less. But haven't incorporated too much backend stuff.
So you use Auth0 at your previous job too?
No, this was just more for my side projects. Yeah.
Wow. You have side projects. Oh shoot, you actually.
I used to have side projects. all my side projects are YouTube is my new side project.
Yeah, I was
Chris and Alex show is my side project.
Oh, that's cool. Just to move on to this other topic I'm really curious about, right? So, Will, you've been wanting to be a developer advocate ever since you met me. I'm just joking. But for a while, right? I mean, just seeing all these people on tech Twitter being developer advocates, right? Talking about code life and life of developer advocate. So, like, I'm curious now that you're in it. You've been in it for like what? Let's say a month or so, if not less than a month. How is your perspective now after getting into it? Because I'm at my second DevRel job, and my second DevRel job way different than when I was at my last company.
That's one thing that's true. Like every company handles it a completely different way. But honestly, as far as me being a developer advocate, it's not that I didn't want to be one, but it's like I never thought about it. It was everyone told me I should be one. Like it was crazy the amount of people that was like, "Yo, you need to get into DevRel. You need to be a DevRel. Hey, my company's hiring DevRel. Come work with me." So it's not even like something I was necessarily looking for. It just ended up happening. But
funny.
Now that I am in it, it's even better than I thought so far. It's because it's all about teaching the developer, at least the way that Auth0 does it. It's about teaching the developer, empowering the developer. How can we make the developers better? How can we make their lives easier? How can we take their feedback and make our product better and easier for them to use, to have a better developer experience? Because a lot of people take DevRel and they think that it's about marketing or pushing the product to developers, and that's not really what it's about. It's more about helping developers, building that trust. I mean, of course, like maybe in the back of your mind with the hopes that if they need identity for their job, they'll choose Auth0. But the real focus is how can we make developer lives easier, better, simpler, and make developers better and faster. That's really what the focus is. So I'm really loving that experience and that mindset that they're taking.
Were you looking for specifically developer advocate roles when you were looking for that next job?
Actually, yeah, I was. Like I've interviewed for like 3 months, and every role was developer advocate role, mainly because it was the people telling me, and then I'd say, hey, is your job hiring DevRel? So it was like, and that's another thing I noticed, because when they say that when you create your resume, you should tailor it to the job, right? To the specific job. So once I started applying, I applied out maybe 3 DevRel positions. I noticed that the job description were literally exactly the same. It's like they all copy paste them from each other. So it made it super easy to have my resume. Like it seemed like it was super specific, but I was using the same one.
Yeah, it's because no one knows how to do DevRel. Like, I mean, people know, but not every company knows, right? Like everyone's trying to learn from each other, and they end up having literally the exact same job description.
I'm sure they're still trying to figure it out. And so I was going to ask, when you were interviewing at these different companies and they were kind of explaining the role, did you feel like some of these developer advocate or developer relations or whatever you want to call it, do you feel like sometimes some of these companies wanted different things? Because I know Chris's experience with the first DevRel position versus the second one's very different. And maybe at Auth0 it might be more tutorial focused or more developer focused rather than branding. It does feel like it's kind of a free for all, at least at the moment, which is kind of good because you're kind of figuring things out as you go. But did you notice that other companies were just looking for different things, or were they all pretty much looking for something the same based on the job description, I guess?
He's asking for himself because he wants to be developer advocacy.
Well, the thing is, at least from my point of view, it's still not clear to me what a developer advocate does, because they could do so many different things, right? It's like maybe as a front end developer, you might be working in React or might be doing the front end stuff. A back end developer, APIs, database, maybe doing like microservices, whatever. But developer advocate, it could kind of go a lot of different directions. And I think one person's experience could be totally different from another. So I'm just kind of curious if the companies are kind of looking for the same thing or something a little bit different.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that, so even though the job descriptions were almost copy paste from each other, the experience of like doing the interviews, it was definitely like different things wanted from each company. Like some companies wanted you to be like so deep into their product, like a heavy power user, right? So that when someone did have an issue, you'll be able to help them. So some companies wanted that. Some companies wanted you to be more community focused. Like, you know, what are you doing to help developers? How are you giving back to the community? So yeah, it was definitely like you said, a free for all, and not everyone had like the same goals in mind. So it was definitely different for each company.
So what was the most appealing part about Auth0 that made you want to go there? Like what stood out from a developer relations perspective?
So two things mainly. First thing, I've been knowing their team for a long time. Like James Quick, I've known him.
James
I don't know,
there.
maybe going on like 3 years, 3-4. I think 3 years, something like that. Sam Julien,
developer.
Yeah, he has a cool accent. He said he lived in New York, but I was like, you don't sound like you're from New York at all.
It might be because he's been in Memphis for so long. He might have mixed the two together.
Also, you knew people there.
Yeah. Then I knew Sam Julien, he was the manager. Now he's like interim director. And I know
that helps. Wow.
No. It wasn't even like that.
That came out wrong. I didn't mean it like that.
Wow.
That came out so wrong. I'll cut that out. I'll cut that off.
Will's very smart, guys. He's an instructor at egghead.io. He got some.
That came out so wrong. My bad. Oh,
it's all good.
So what were we talking about?
Yeah, and then I also knew Tyler Clark is someone who I met from Egghead. So I for knowing them for a few years, I've seen their journey and I've seen like the work that they put in. Because like James just recently got promoted to like media manager, so he handles like all the video stuff, and that was something that he did of his own volition because he liked videos. They saw that and was like, okay, let's enable him to do that more by, you know, creating his own position. And the same thing with Sam, like he was over. They have this Auth0 ambassador program where it's almost, if I had to explain it simply, it's like DevRel in training. Like if you were interested in doing DevRel and wanted to like learn from people who are doing it, the Auth0 ambassadors would be a good program to look into.
That is really cool.
That's awesome.
So he was managing that project, which required him to manage people, and then he ended up being manager. So seeing all of that made me be like, okay, Auth0 is a company who invest in their employees and pay attention to the things that they do. And that's the kind of environment I want to be around. And then the second thing is that they didn't make it to where you had to constantly sell Auth0. You'd have to constantly talk about the product.
By the way, that's huge.
Yeah. Like they were more focused on, you know, education and trust and things like that. So those seeing how they treat their employees from people who actually work there, and seeing their approach to DevRel was very, very appealing, and what made me want to be there.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I mean, the fact that they actually, and when I say this, they keep an eye on the developers or the employees in a way where they can best elevate them to their to use how do I say this? Where they can use their strengths, right? Like for
Maximize their
example,
Mhm.
thank you,
potential, for
thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
By the way, I just found out I have dyslexia.
You
I know
told-
it's
you
super
told me this,
random.
like, a couple
Yeah,
weeks
it's
ago.
crazy.
Yeah.
So like sometimes things, it's hard. It makes sense why it's hard to actually say things now. Anyway, I'm a dyslexia developer. I'm proud. I'm proud of that. Anyway, yeah.
You'll
so
be
like
DD tonight.
oh my gosh. But I think it's really cool how they really use their employees to their strengths, right? The
Mhm.
strength, for example, I mean, James Quick. I can't even say James. It's James Quick because that's how we all know him as. He's
Yeah.
blowing up on YouTube, by the way, too. His YouTube channel is growing so fast,
Yeah.
right? It is amazing at his growth on YouTube. And to have him take charge of that, that's exciting. And that's cool. I feel like if Tech Rally wanted to be a developer advocate and leave Amazon, I'm just saying. I mean, Off-Zero, you should check it out, Tech Rally.
Literally every episode of the Chris and Alex show is going to involve at least Chris saying once, technically should look into a developer advocate.
I mean, Amazon do got at least the AWS team. They got a
Mhm.
banging DevRel team, so you don't
They do,
necessarily
yeah.
have to leave Amazon.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I talk about it in this previous episodes before, but it's one of those things I conflict with, where I love building, I'm working on complex problems, and sometimes those problems are just kind of given to me to figure out. But
Mhm.
maybe with DevRel, you kind of have to come up with it yourself in some regards, because you have to be the somewhat creative and you have to be the engineer to say
Mhm.
that this would be beneficial for the developers and many developers. And sometimes it's good to just not mindlessly think about the creative side and just be like, okay, I need to build this feature because this is what the
Yeah.
company wants, right? So I do get conflicted, but no, it's always
But
appealing for sure.
a shortcut to that, though, right? So if you don't want to always be like, "Oh, what should I do? What do people need?" We have the internet.
That's true.
Everyone complains on the internet, so you go look for complaints, and then that's what you make content about. Like, what are people complaining about Off-Zero, or what are they complaining about with AWS? Look for those problems on Twitter, Reddit, Stack Overflow. I mean, I don't know.
This is
People
a
might be complaining
developer
on
advocate,
Facebook.
everyone.
Yo, while we got you here, since you work at Off-Zero, I will give you one complaint that you could fix and send to your... There's too many tutorials, like old tutorials. Like I know
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of deleting code, but I think we should also delete old tutorials that are no longer relevant. You know what I mean? Sometimes like
Yeah.
I was following an old tutorial that's like using Node and all this stuff when it could just be
Mhm.
using like Next.js and stuff. And like
okay.
as Off-Zero is evolving, sometimes like you get old stuff that still exists, and you could be on this tutorial for like almost an hour just trying to figure it out. And you're like, wait, I could have totally just done it with this one simple line and then just enter, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, yeah. So that's the one thing that I noticed with at least Off-Zero is maybe too
The
much
the first
information.
opportunity he had to
You got-
complain, he did it.
You got too many DevRels working, you know. Just kidding.
That's
no,
funny.
no, I really enjoy your experience, and I mean, obviously we connected on Twitter. I don't know how you and Chris connected, but I noticed that you're doing a bunch of like Twitter Spaces on like Fridays, I believe. Do you still
Yeah,
do
on
that?
Fridays. I haven't really, because I've been head down in the learning identity, so I haven't really
Mhm.
like, you know, had a chance to reach out to people and stuff.
Yeah, you should do that again. I don't know if you plan on doing it again, but if you do,
Twitter Spaces is
I would
always
love,
fun.
I'd love for you to share that too, because I thought that was really cool. It's just basically you were like spotlighting developers, right, on Twitter.
Yeah,
Space.
yeah.
That was awesome.
I have
Yeah, let's go ahead.
let's go. You can go, Alex.
No,
it's
I
cool.
didn't say anything. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm curious because I mean I feel this myself as well, but like now you're developer advocate. You're creating content for Off-Zero,
hmm
but you also create content outside of Off-Zero.
Yes.
How does it feel to create content for Off-Zero from let's just say 9 to 5, right? And DevRel isn't necessarily 9 to 5 job, to be honest. But let's just say you do 9
Yeah.
to 5 and then 5 to 9. Let's just say, I mean, if you have that time, you have a big family. You have a big family. I remember that. So like, how do you manage both? Do you feel like you're burning out more easily because of that? Because you do content full time now?
That's a really good question and something I get asked a lot. Um, so the reason I don't burn out because the content that I create outside of Off Zero is literally stuff that I'm just enjoying. Like the goal isn't for me to be, it isn't like a work related goal because like the course I'm working on is for Framer Motion, which is an animation library, and I like animation, so I'm like having fun exploring Framer Motion. How to get better at it, how to learn things, and even while I'm doing that, I'm getting better at development because I have to build a demo after the test of animation, and so I'm like learning, but it doesn't feel like learning just because I'm having fun. Because when that animation works or it looks good or I get that perfect little bounce, I get hyped. So that's like one reason why I don't burn out, because I'm strictly creating the outside of work content for fun. It's no one's making me. It's just something cool to do. And then the second thing is just scheduling. Like my wife just started school this year, so that's been a new thing. So from like she's gonna her bachelor's in finance.
Nice.
Let's go.
So from like 8 to 4 I do Off Zero, right? Then and my wife does homeschool. We also homeschool, so
that's a
8
lot
to
of
4
work.
Yeah.
And how many kids again? How many kids?
6.
Oh my gosh.
Well, 2 of them do
like startup.
Startup.
Man.
Wow.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Will?
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. So like from like 8 to 4, I work and she homeschools. So I'm upstairs, she's downstairs. Then at 4 we switch. She come up and does school, like her school studying and stuff like that. And then I do, I'm with the kids and I'm, making dinner and, checking their schoolwork to make sure that it was right. Because we do a lot of independent stuff for them. So you got to have someone to come and check and make sure that it was actually done. So then like from 9 till, I fall asleep, which is like 10 or 11, either me and my wife, like we'll watch a show, or just chat, and then I'm, learning something, it's not a lot, maybe like an hour or 2. It just depends. And then on the weekends, I usually spend like the morning, like from 8 to like 12, doing something. Cause I do want to still keep my skills sharp. So yeah, it's just about
you say 8 to 12?
Time management. Yeah, like 8 to 12 on the weekends,
but
and
you
then
also,
the rest of the day.
Oh, on the weekends. I was about to say. Okay.
Yeah. And then so then I just the rest of that time I just do whatever. Whether that's yard work, playing with the kids, shopping, whatever. And of course that schedule's not the same every day. Thursday I might need to make a Target run and et cetera, et cetera. But I just kind of keep like that same schedule to make sure I get the things done that I want to get done.
Okay, yeah. So I did have a question also. Like, I mean, I know your job history, like your career history, right? And you shared where you came from in this other podcast. Actually, yeah. I mean, you shared where you started from, just like struggling, right, with a big family like that.
Yeah,
it is not easy to survive on like, let's just say, call it the average income. The average income in America is like, what, I don't know, $50K a year. Let's just say it's that.
Yeah,
that's not easy for a family of 6. That's not easy for a single person like Krishan. I spend so much money on food. Right? Hey, why is it? No, I spent a lot of money on food, but like, and then you got your first developer job, which is already life changing enough. Now you're working for a tech company that's well known, that's used everywhere, like Off Zero. Let's just say you got the bag, and you did. How does that feel? Like to go? I mean, right? To go from even now your first developer job, which is already life changing for you and your family, to where you are now. How does that feel for you and your wife?
Man, it feels surreal. Like it doesn't even feel real, because honestly, it's been less than 3 years, and I've literally tripled my income from when I was working at the factory job. So
crazy.
It's just it doesn't feel real. I'm 36, so I'm pretty old.
Hey, wait, you're only 2 years older than me. Don't say that.
I'm old in developer years.
We're all in the 3 clubs, so
Yeah.
we're amongst friends.
But yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, it just like I don't even really have like words for it, because honestly I never thought that I would even be here. But it's like I know I made a lot of sacrifices and put in the work, but it still feels like wow, I actually did it. That's like the and the craziest part, right, is that this is the most money that anybody I've known ever made, and this is like the floor. Like I still have levels to go up, and that is just, I just never thought I would be in a situation like this, and for my family doesn't have to think about money. Like my wife,
It's amazing.
I love my wife. No, she stays at home.
Yeah.
But like when we was not financially stable, when we were broke, she would be like, oh, we don't really need this and that, and she was at I wouldn't say she was not faking, but she was going along with that's where the situation was, right? We don't have anything, so I'm happy, I'm fine. But now she doesn't have to do that anymore. She can get what she wants and don't feel guilty. She can, and she always loves buying stuff for the kids. She used to like stress out about it, like, oh, we don't have money to get this thing that they need, like they need a new bed set, and that was like $400, and we didn't have an extra $400.
But now,
now she can like do those things and feel good and take care of her children. It's just it's just so. And like I said, I don't have words. Like I guess stories, but I cannot put a word in the English language on how this feels.
And Will, for some of our listeners that might not know your background, and actually I don't even know your background.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm talking.
Yeah, look at Chris just transitioning all the way to the finale before we get to the beginning.
I know a lot of people. I'm sorry.
It's like eating ramen without cooking, the soup. Just eating the crunchy parts, So, but I am curious, like, how did you start off? Like, what got you into coding? What were you doing before? I would love to know.
Yeah. So if I do the Batman origin story, like I always liked computers, right? Since I was very young, I remember when they had those colored iMacs that were kind of like oval shaped, and they had brought those into our school. I wanted to be in a computer lab all the time. But like growing up, my mom, I wouldn't say that we couldn't afford a computer, but we could have got one. But she didn't like computers, right?
Yeah.
Because they were new and stuff like that, so we never actually got a computer. So I always like being fascinated by them. I ended up buying my own when I was like 18, and that's when MySpace was out, and I remember like doing everybody's MySpace page, like changing the layout, and you could have really got in with MySpace, because it was just HTML and CSS, and I didn't know that was like a real thing, but like, and I would do it for free. People like, hey, can you hook my MySpace page up? And I would do it because I like really enjoyed doing it and making people custom pages. But I didn't know that was a real job. I didn't know that websites was made that way. So it's kind of one of those things I just kind of put in the back burner because I didn't know what it was. So after I got married, I got a real job, right? So I was working like factories and stuff, and what kind of like one of the reasons that got me to want to do something else, because like growing up, everyone was like, $20 an hour is like a lot of money. That's what like everybody would say. $20 an hour. When you make that, you good. I remember there was this job paying like $21 an hour, and one of my friends was like, and my wife was still working at this time. They were like, if you make $21 an hour, your wife could quit, right? So it's like everyone telling you that $21 was like the mega, right?
Yeah.
And then I made 20 something dollars an hour. And it's not that we even wanted much. We didn't have car payments. We had paid our cars off.
Nice.
We didn't have like a gigantic house. We didn't have any student loan debt, and we were like super broke. And I'm pretty sure it had to do with having 6 kids, right? I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Probably.
But it's like we never had like money for anything, and on top of not having money, you know, I would get forced to work overtime all the time. The managers, you know, treat you like crap. Like, I remember one day my daughter, when she first went to kindergarten, and my daughter, you know, she's a daddy's girl, and she went to kindergarten. She asked, can I come to school for her birthday and bring like some cupcakes? And I had been at this job for like 3 years, and I was like a temporary employee, hoping that they would sign me on so I could get benefits and all this stuff. Because when you were you couldn't even miss days or anything. Like, you had to be there every day on time, or they was going to give you the axe. So I was there for like 3 years at this point, and I asked the supervisor, I was like, "Hey, can I get Friday off so I can take my daughter, or I can take my cupcakes up to my daughter, because this is her first year in school. You know, she's excited, et cetera, et cetera." He laughed. He was like, huh, "You're a temp." I will never forget that.
Wow.
And, you know, it just started making me think, like, why am I here? Like, why am I working this overtime? Why am I going to get no money and to get treated like this? So
this was your moment that I need to make a difference in my life. I need to do something different.
Yeah, this was the F this moment, right?
Yes.
Were you coding at that time though?
No.
Okay.
No, this was
just
just
doing MySpace. I'm just
doing MySpace.
This was just like regular, like, life, right? And yeah, so like that month, plus like some other stuff happened. I remember I had gotten to, you know, it snows here in Missouri, so I had slipped on some snow and like hit a bus. You know, oh my god,
hold on, you slipped on snow and your body, you hit
went on my car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, I was coming up a hill, and then it was like a hill that was down, and I tried to brake, and it didn't work, and boom, into a bus.
Tough times.
Sounds like you're the luckiest guy during that time, right?
Oh my god, that was so scary. Oh man. But so I had sent a picture to the supervisor at the same factory of the car, like smashed. You know what I mean? And he was like, "Can you still work?" I was like, "Bro, come on!"
What? No! Oh my gosh! I'm so sorry. Oh,
I'm not even surprised. I saw.
I'm happy now, so it's all good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So stuff like that, no money, getting treated like this. I was like, you know, I got to figure out something else. So the first thing I did, I started a YouTube channel. I was doing like gaming videos for like NBA 2K and stuff like that. Then me and my wife started a cleaning business, and I would say she had more to do it with that. She did most of the stuff. We tried to sell t-shirts on Shopify, and I'm trying to think it's some other stuff that we did. Like, we were just like in this, we gotta get out of this place. Yeah. And then so, you know, like, I never gave up. So, you know, I was doing the whole thing where you watch, you know, motivational videos on YouTube, and you read books. Like, I was reading like The Magic of Thinking Big. That was like one book that I've read, and stuff like that. And so I was always in this mindset of like trying to get better. I was on this forum, and I saw a post about the post was about Udemy courses. And everybody was buying a web development Udemy course. So I was like, yo, what is this? Why is everybody buying this? Yeah. So I went to Google it, and I'm like, and this one, you know, they were saying they made like 70,000. So that was like double what I was making. So I was like, I'm in, right? You know what I mean? Like 6 figures wasn't even in my mind. Like 70,000. I was like, 70,000, that's double. Let's go. But yeah, so I told my wife, she was like, you know what? I think this is it. Out of all the stuff that we tried, she was like, I think this is the one. So, you know, I just, you know, put in the work, and I talked about this on your podcast, Chris, but I just stopped doing everything. I stopped watching sports, stopped playing video games, stopped watching TV.
That's what it takes, though.
And
that's literally what it takes.
And just, you know, work and code. And that's all I did for like a year and a half. And you know, I put a lot of stuff on Twitter, and that's how I got noticed and stuff like that. But it was like pure work, all work and no play for like a year and a half. And I ended up getting that job at Egghead. And yeah, it was hard, but it was worth it. And I probably wouldn't change a thing.
What do you think you learned about yourself during that time? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't
man,
That's a
easy,
good
right?
question.
That's a really good
That's a
question.
good question. I'm glad you're on the show.
It's called the Alex Show. Just kidding.
Oh!
It's called the Alex and Will Show now.
What's going on?
I honestly, like, I never had to think about it because, you know, I've been real,
Just keep
what they
going.
call it, hedonic treadmill type thing.
Mhm.
Right, I reach a goal and I'm like, all right, what's next? Right.
Mhm. Literally,
Like-
you should see our messages on Twitter. Literally, literally.
But I mean, I did learn though that where you come from doesn't have to be where you end up, and that's the message that I want to like pass to my
a good
kids too.
message.
Like, you know, I came from a completely, you know, when people say non-traditional background, mine is so non-traditional, and to be able to, you know, come in this industry, you know, make the relationships that I've made and do the things that I've done. Yeah, it's just it doesn't matter, you know, where you come from. If you have focus and determination, I don't know. I feel like because, you know, and the thing is, I hate saying that because, you know, people kind of like take that the wrong way, like you're like doing the whole motivation porn, and I because I don't want to do that, but like if you knew where I come from and where I'm at, like I don't want to say that anybody can do it, but man,
If
really
you really do everything you can. You went
Yeah.
from working in a factory to working at Off Zero, right?
Yeah,
in
it's
3
wild.
years.
That's crazy. And
Yeah.
I don't know. In some ways, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you couldn't really afford to fail. And you have family, you have
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, you know what I
No.
mean?
That's a good.
And
what if you were single?
that's what I'm saying. Like so many people, they probably ask you, me, and Will, like, hey, how do I stay motivated? Or how do I stay how do I continue this grind, right? It's like I made this video a long time ago, which says like why I code like I'm broke.
Yeah.
And usually when you're broke, you know, you have nothing else to fall back on. And
Yeah.
right now, I think I would say all of us are relatively comfortable financially. But when we were at our lowest moments in terms of like me quitting my job and starting all over, like Chris living in that closet that he was talking about, and like you yourself, like working at a factory, all three of us in some regards, like couldn't afford to fail, right? And
Yeah.
in that from
No.
that point of view, like motivation is not really like it's not really on the table. It's about, dude, if I don't do
Yeah.
this, then what am I gonna do next, right? So
Yeah, it's like, what's the alternative?
what's the alternative? Yeah.
Talking about this, I want to share. This is actually really personal, but I'll share it anyway. Like I'm so used to just worrying about myself, right? And the last 2 nights, I was just thinking, I just want, like, I have enough savings. I just want to quit. I don't want to work 9 to 5 right now. I just want to relax. I just want to play NBA 2K22 all day and play Apex Legends all day on my new gaming PC right here, right? And but then I told myself, no, I can't do that because I got my parents to take care of. All these 4 dogs in the house that need to feed them. You know, I'm gonna get married soon. I got employees, and like as much as I wanted to quit so many times, I wasn't allowed to quit. And as much as that sucks, having that burden of taking care of so many people, that is the reason that I am where I am today. Right? As much as that sucks, like if it wasn't for this big burden that I have, I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's crazy to think about that, or any of us. Right. Yeah. And so that was my why, to take care of my family.
Yeah. And that's how it was for me. Kind of like another like gut check that I had. Because it is 6 of us in a fairly small house. It was time for us to move, and I started looking at, and this is before, you know, the real estate market looks the way it looks now. Like I definitely wouldn't be able to move now back then. But I was like looking at houses, and I remember it was this house that was like $1,200 a month, which really isn't, you know, a lot. I know some people might live in, you know, LA and be like, where? You know what I'm saying? But it was only like $1,200 a month, but we couldn't afford it. Like, and I remember looking at the thing, they were like, you need to make at least 60,000. And I'm like, dang, I can't even put my family in a better position. Like it was a gut check. So for me, it was like,
oh, that hurts.
You know, what do I like? Do I want to? If 5 years from now, if I don't do this, you know, what will the outcome be, right? And the outcome that I'm at now, that's what I wanted. And if I didn't do those things, I would be, still in that house, still in that same neighborhood, still getting, probably never would have got still been a temp employee and still getting talked to crazy. And no, so that it was just that's how I like kept framing it. Like, what do I want 5 years from now? If what I'm doing right now is not it, then I gotta keep putting in the work.
Can you oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't think it's motivation porn. It's just reality, right? What your story isn't just
life or death.
Yeah, it really is technically life or death, or just how you want to live your life, right? You want to you want to live this life where you are a temp employee and they don't really give you that much respect or that much pay, and on top of that, you have 6 kids, so it's just if you don't, you could be as motivating as you want, but the reality is, what kept you going, I would assume, is you had to do it. Otherwise, what else would you do? So, I think that puts it in a lot of perspective of people that say, "Oh, I don't feel motivated today." It's like, well, maybe you have the luxury to not feel motivated in some regards, and that sounds that's a pretty super honest viewpoint, but at the same time it could be very like, oh, you offended me because you're saying that I have this luxury, but some people do have that luxury and some people don't. So
no, that's true. Well, like, imagine going back to where you used to live when you were still working in a factory as a temp with your family of 8. It's a family of 8. That's hold on. That's a tribe, That's a tribe right there, right? Imagine if you still had to live there today. Just picturing that. Like, can you even imagine that? Like, how difficult it would be? Just like, I don't know. Just like for me, like I think about living in that garage where they had to build a closet in there for me to live in. I was literally a closet. And then, I mean, I got kicked out of every house. No one would take me. So my friend's family took me, and I lived in this closet, like, with the spiders, rats, you name it, right? Cockroaches, right? It's tough, right? And like, if I think about going back there, I will never go back there. I'll never allow myself to go back there. And just thinking about it was, why did I allow myself to even get there in the first place, right? Like, do you ever think like that too? Do you ever talk to your wife about where y'all came from just within the last 3 years?
Man, all the time. Like,
yeah, right. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Okay.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. We roll back through the old neighborhood sometimes. Like, honestly, I go back to where I grew up all the time, which was in the middle of the hood, right? And it's I like, the houses I was in when I was like 4, 6, and ages like that, and a lot of them are abandoned or burnt down, right? But I roll past there, not all the time, maybe like every 6 months or something like that, just to as a reminder to myself of like where I started at and where I came from. And it's just like a way to like keep me humble, right? Because I don't think that I'm better than anyone or anything like that. I want everybody to win. Like, that stuff I was going through, that nobody should be going through that, and I don't want anyone to go through that. But I do want to remind myself that I did make it out of there. So yeah, just to answer your question, me and my wife, we definitely talk about it. And I definitely thank her a lot because she made a lot of sacrifices for me to even get here with the
it's teamwork.
Because I was working like 12 hours shifts, so I would come home and code, right? So she was basically like a single parent for like a year and a half. So we definitely talk about that journey a lot and how difficult it was. But man, it's lit now though. Like,
it's lit.
It's lit.
It's just like the fact that you go from worrying about every dollar that's in your bank, or you're scared to look at your bank because you get an overdraft fee, right? Like, and to go from that to, I mean, I don't worry about my money anymore. I don't worry about how much. I don't look at how much something costs, right? And like, it's not that like I overspend. I still budget, but the fact that I have zero worries, If my car breaks
Mm-hmm.
down, you need $1,000, $2,000. Here you go. Right?
Yep.
It's crazy, and it's all because we worked our butt off for a couple of months, or if not a year or so, to get that first job, and that in result brought us to where we are today. It's mind-boggling thinking about
Yeah.
how so many other people can do that, but it's just that discipline you have to first have or create for yourself to get there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that made me, what you just said made me think. I remember a few years back, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, a really good friend of mine, we were talking and we were like, man, do you ever just feel heavy? Like just weight? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, what do you think that is? And we didn't know, right? Because we were in that situation. I'm like, I don't know, but it's like every day I wake up and I just feel heavy, right? And like now, like I don't feel that anymore. Like
Yeah.
I wake up, I fly out of bed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's no weight, there's no like existential dread or anything like that. And yeah, it's like one of those. It's like when we were talking about it, I didn't know what it was, but now I'm like, oh, that's because I was broke, I was getting treated like crap, and you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like I had all these things that were like holding me down, and I don't have them anymore. And
Yeah.
you know, I just feel better. I feel loose.
No, for sure. I mean, just
Feel
waking up
good.
and like knowing that you don't have to worry about everything. Everything's taken care of. It's life changing. It is life changing.
Right. And I think you alluded to this a little bit, Will, when you said you were kind of coming on the up and up. You thought $21 was, you got it good, right? You got it good.
Yeah.
Everyone around you is kind of making around that much or aspiring to make that much. But once you discovered web development, you kind of just opened another door to what is possible. And I know that on Twitter, you've been pretty active. And I actually, through Twitter, after following you and some other people, I got exposed to the hashtag Black Tech Twitter and all of that stuff. And just met a lot of really cool developers in the Twitter space. So I think, obviously, Chris needs to be more active on Twitter, but I'm going to try to get him on Twitter Spaces more.
Oh, yeah,
But
Twitter Spaces, yes.
I met a lot of cool people on Tech Twitter and specifically Twitter Space. And man, like, it really is about just getting that exposure out there, saying that it is possible for you to be a developer, right? Because I don't think even for me or Chris, like, I don't think we really knew what web development was even like 10 years ago, right? And
I knew World of Warcraft.
I like World of Warcraft. Like, I thought if you were coding, you were like coding some type of like Microsoft software or gaming software, but I didn't know this.
Yeah,
like,
I thought you were like making Excel.
I didn't know MySpace or Xanga was like that, you know?
Yeah, but it's just really cool to see just kind of this representation within tech now, that you don't have to have this computer science degree to be a software engineer. You don't need to have go to college. You could literally go on like egghead.io, or you could go on some front end masters, whatever you want. And that's why I was kind of like talking about your Twitter space, because I thought it was kind of cool that you were just like showing some highlights of developers that you know, like maybe don't think that they have a voice and they could share it. And no, I really appreciate you doing that, because it really exposed me to a lot of great developers that are out there. And I know there was like that Render ATL conference that came out really recently. So I think that was pretty. I saw videos. I was like, dude, this is pretty lit for a coding conference. So.
Yo, I'm so hyped for Render next year.
Yeah. But,
yeah,
man,
if you come, man.
Yeah,
I would say
go.
if you come.
Yeah.
I've been what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, asking really hard for him to do trap karaoke, man. So you gotta come.
Yo, I'm Filipino. Yo, karaoke's my life. Let's go.
No, but I think you were on a Twitter space actually, and you're talking about like, you're not necessarily so gung ho about like, oh, we have to do hashtag Black Twitter and like really jam it down people's throat. You're definitely doing it in a way where it's like just leading by example. And whether it's through like your Egghead.io videos or your Auth0, I think this is like a perfect niche for you to see, for other younger developers or aspiring developers to see like someone of like, oh, hey, a Black person is doing code and like I could be a software developer too. And that's a big win in my point of view. And especially just like being a minority in general, we call it like the bamboo ceiling, where it's like, oh, we can only go up so high. But it's really good to see like even Chris talking about money. And some people might be like, oh, he's just bragging all the time about how much he makes. But it just emphasizes that, hey, you could make that much too.
Yeah.
Don't ever like limit yourself. And yeah, it's really cool to see that you're able to quadruple, triple your income now.
It's amazing.
In 3 years.
It is amazing.
Yeah. So props to you, man.
It's life changing.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So to touch on what you're saying about being a Black person in tech, like, right, I'm just not the type of person to bang drums loud, right? And there's nothing wrong with the people who do. That's just not like my lane. But then what I want to do, I want to show up, right? I want to be giving talks. I want to be on podcasts. I want to be making tutorials, right? Because if you're learning how to code, you're going to look up a tutorial, and what's better than to land on a tutorial and it's in someone who looks like you. And usually, you know, I also try to like keep myself in there, you know, speak my own lingo, say things like, you know, dope and stuff like that, you know, just to make it more relatable for, you know, the people who come across it. Cause yeah, it's just, I want people to see that, yeah, I can do this too. I don't want to think like, oh, even if you're a developer, well, I only see, you know, a certain demographic making tutorials. I guess nobody will watch mine. But if they see, oh, Will made a tutorial, he's Black and 400 people watched it, you know what I'm saying? So I guess I can do it too. So I'm just trying to show up at as many places as possible. So it's like you said, to be that example for other Black people, they don't have to wonder like, oh, can I do this? Like, oh, well, no, Will's doing it. And plus, I'm always trying to bring other people up. Like, I'll be bullying people into doing stuff. I'll be like, hey, man, you need to make a course. I need a blog post. I need you to do a talk. Like, I'll be up in people's DMs bullying them to do stuff.
Sounds like a great manager.
Yeah, I need to get back on bullying Chris to get an ebook out.
Yo,
I was bullying him a couple weeks ago.
Why'd you stop bullying me?
Because you was looking for a job.
Oh yeah. Oh,
so I gave you a break.
Oh, you did. Yeah, Will knew when I started looking for new jobs too. I told Will, yeah, I'm looking for a new job. I had a bunch of interviews, blah blah blah. Yeah, so again, Will and I we talk often.
You guys talk more than you talk to me, Chris?
Never.
Never.
Damn.
No, you and I talk more because we actually text. Actually, I want to get your number too. Well, I'll get your number later.
All right.
It's what is your number right now?
No, but like seriously though, like your journey, you know, like I talk about my story so often, right? And so I always ask these questions, like where you came from, how life changing is that pay that you have received now, you know, those special moments when you got your first job to now your current job, life changing, you know, income for your family, right? After all the hard work, because I talk about my life story all the time, and I hear all the people relate in a way. Like for example, you and wife talk about where you were 3 years ago to where you are now. Like you talk about all the time, which I do with myself, to be honest. Like I tell people, especially when I'm in the shower, I'll talk to myself like, Chris, good job. Right? Anyway, too much information. But yo,
where are you going with this?
I have no idea. What I'm trying to say is your story is inspirational, right?
Appreciate it, man.
I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Will, where can people find you? Right. You also, I think you're coming out with a new course too.
That's right.
But where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on Twitter at Will Johnson IO.
Yeah, Will Johnson IO.
Yeah, that's where I spend the majority of my time. I'm trying to venture out either into the YouTube or Twitch game. I haven't really figured out which one. I'll probably give them both a try and see which one I like the most. But that's probably but my usernames are the same there, Will Johnson IO. But I wouldn't say follow them now because there's nothing out. But that's on the way. But I am, like you said, releasing an Egghead course on Framer Motion.
Check it out.
Yeah, which is a animation library for React. It makes animation super easy. You don't have to be an animation expert or know none of the terms like easing and cubic Bezier, and you don't need to know none of that. And you can make gorgeous animations because Framer has tons of defaults for you. So I'm going to show you how to make a nice animated UI in my Framer Motion course. And if you want to like sign up for that for updates, you can go to motion.williamjohnson.dev, and they'll have a sign up
Yeah.
link there.
Yo,
Nice. Yeah.
everyone check it out.
Yeah, man. Animations are like my biggest weakness, so it's gonna
Me
be
too.
this. That'll be real.
Not
nice for me.
anymore.
Yeah. Not anymore. Yeah.
Oh!
Not anymore.
Is there any last words you want to share to with anyone listening? Anything you want to say to them about anything? Anything?
I mean, probably just to reiterate what I said earlier, like, you know, in the world, you know, it's a lot of negativity and people trying to hold you down, but you don't have to agree with none of that. I don't care if they say if you're say you're stupid, say you're, you know, not educated, whatever negative thing that someone says about you or to you isn't about you. It's about them. So, you know, do your best to ignore it and go for the goals that you want to have, because it only matters what you think. And if you think highly of yourself, then the right people, not everybody, but the right people will think highly of you. So focus on them a little bit more.
Nice.
Exactly.
Will, thank you so much for coming on our show. And I had an idea of what you would be like based on Twitter, and you were pretty chill, but just hearing your like origins and like where you are now, it's freaking inspiring, man. And
seriously, six
yeah,
kids.
I thought Chris was inspiring already, but you know, like hearing Will's story, I don't think you can compare. Yeah, you have to-
I just looked in the closet. This person made $21 an hour, 6 kids. Like that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I don't know how that math works out, Will, but you must be a genius.
Seriously, dude.
That budget.
That
app
was
must
my
be-
wife. That was my wife. Really, she had like an Excel spreadsheet of like our finances and had everything real tight. So yeah, that was, you know, all her, and I'm glad she don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Delete that.
Hell yeah, for sure. But yeah, cool. Well, yeah, no, seriously, thank you for being on the show. We love you so much. We can't wait to see you like even go further in your career. And I wouldn't be surprised, like within the next couple months, or not a couple months, a year or so. Watch out, we got the senior developer advocate Will Johnson IO, and then Tech Rally will be a developer advocate as well.
Junior developer advocate. Junior developer advocate.
For sure. You leave Amazon to be a junior developer advocate. But for sure. But dude, seriously, thank you so much for being here again.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, see you later.